Shh. It's that time, y'all. Time for Big Boys Boxing.
I was gonna rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and most vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Negron. There's no one that can match me.
What up, team? Welcome back to Big Boys Boxing. And I have a few fights to talk about. Some heavyweight dust-ups have been announced. Some have been talked about. People have been paid. They're all over the news, but there's no confirmations just yet. So I've got three of them that I want to talk about. And obviously, we're going to kick off with the first one on your screen being Tony Yoka versus Johann Dorpo. Not a bad fight. Now, Tony Yoka, of course, has the amateur pedigree. He was the 2016 Olympic gold medalist. Johann Dorpo has been around for a while. So, we'll have a quick look at some stats for y'all. Here we go. Firstly, we have Tony Yoka. 7-0. Hasn't fought many fights as a pro. He is 6'7", and he has an 82-inch reach. His 7 fights as a professional have been reasonably high level, considering the number of fights he's had. Started off with Travis Clark, nothing to write home about, but Jonathan Rice as his second fight, that's pretty high level. And we do have some in here that aren't really worth mentioning, like this guy here, this Ali guy, right? But moving on, Cyril Leonette, journeyman level Frenchman. But then Dave Allen, everybody knows who Dave Allen is, and that was only like his 4th fight. And that was a horrible fight to watch, actually. Dave Allen got such a beating in that fight, and he even admitted after the fact that he was having dizzy spells and whatnot. But Alexander Dimitrenko had been a fringe level contender for some time, taken a few losses to the likes of Joseph Parker, Kubrat Pulev, but he has beaten some other fighters. There was Michelle Wallace as well, of course. And now we're moving on to Johann Dorpo. And we shall quickly switch over to Johann Dorpo's profile. As you can see, he's had a fair few fights. 38 and 5. 5 losses to reasonable level opposition. But Dorpo is 6'5", I believe. Yeah, 6'5", with an 82.5-inch reach. So he's got a half-inch reach advantage over Tony Yoka. However, he's not the kind of guy who uses his height and reach to his advantage. He's just a scrapper, pretty much. He's got some heavy hands. If he hits you flush, he can knock you out, as Robert Helenius found out the hard way in a fight that Helenius was winning most of the way through. And as we've seen, Helenius got a bit tired, got a bit lazy, got caught, got put down, and he tried standing up and he was stumbling all over the ring, just about fell over the top of the ropes. So Dorpo does have some power. His 5 losses, he's lost to Jarrell Miller was his most recent loss, and that was a competitive fight. Even though Jarrell has high volume and keeps coming, Dorpo was still throwing back. It was a pretty good scrap, to be honest. Another loss Dorpo had was to Alexander Povetkin, and you got to be fair about that loss. He had 1 day's notice. He wasn't trained up. It was actually starting his training camp to fight Carlos Takam, but that was due at the end of January, I believe, back in 2018. but ended up he was in Russia when the fight with Deontay Wilder fell through for Alexander Povetkin, and he jumped in there and took the fight on 1 day's notice. Didn't even have his boxing shoes. He was fighting in sneakers, and he got knocked the fuck out. But hey, was it worth the payday? Probably. Still went 6 rounds, so it was a legit knockout. But you know, if the dude's not trained, how much can you put into it? He also has a loss to Erkan Tepe. That was a 12-round majority decision. Deontay Wilder also beat him, of course. That was a stoppage via TKO in the 11th round. Dorpo was still on his feet in that fight. But yeah, moving down, he's beaten Manuel Char as well. But yeah, Erkan Tepe, that was a 12-round decision. And I believe it wasn't long after that Erkan Tepe got popped for steroids. So whether he was actually on steroids then or not, we don't know. But Erkan Tepe certainly looked a lot less quality since he got popped for drugs. Pardon me. And his last loss was to the final loss. Where was it? It's down here somewhere. Or was that it? Must have been all of them. But anyways, so this fight I think is going to be pretty dang competitive. Maybe, you know, Tony Yoka is only 7 fights into his career. He's fought some decent level opposition so far. However, has he fought anybody as tough as Johann Dorpo? I don't know, but Johann Dorpo's also coming toward the dusk of his career. He's getting a bit long in the tooth. So it could be interesting to say the very least. This fight is confirmed for the 25th of September, and it will be in Paris. I'm looking forward to seeing how Tony Yoka is going to go, but I think he should be able to outbox Johann Dorpo. It may go the distance because Dorpo is pretty tough. However, it's possible that Tony Yoka could stop him in the later rounds, maybe, but we will see. So that is that fight on the 25th of September. The next one on the list that I want to have a bit of a yarn about is this one here. Carlos Negron versus Damani Rock could be quite interesting. Damani Rock has been around for what seems like forever and a day, but hasn't really fought any decent level competition, so we don't exactly know how good he is. Carlos Negron has been around for a while. He's taken a few losses here and there, and his last outing he beat the Cuban prospect Robert Alfonso, knocked him out in the first round, which was a bit of a shock to many considering Carlos Negron has been stopped himself a couple of times. So we'll take a look at these guys. Carlos Negron is 21-3. He's 6'6", has a 83-inch reach. Now his most recent loss was to a guy called Brian Howard. Now I've seen this guy's name around quite a bit, but I haven't actually seen him box. I think this was supposed to be a bit of a tune-up fight after his loss to Dominic Brazil, but got knocked out in the first round. So Whether he underestimated Brian Howard or what, I don't know what the story was. I didn't see the fight. Brian Howard is 14-3, so he hasn't got a bad record as Brian Howard. But yeah, he got stopped in the first round, and maybe that made him wake up a bit to not underestimating his opponents or whatever. He started training in the same camp with the same coach as Luis Ortiz, and he moved on to Robert Alfonso, and Robert Alfonso was supposed to be the guy, or a guy that many were talking about. So, previous to that, he was 19-0 with one draw, right? Can box quite a bit, but Carlos Negron came in there and knocked him out in the first round. Now he's moving on to bigger and possibly better things. We just don't know. It's not actually confirmed on here yet, but apparently it is going to be on the 7th of November, I believe. And I think Carlos Negron really has a decent shot in this fight. Basically, because we don't know what Damani Rock's quality actually is, do we? Now, Damani Rock, 6'5", no registered reach, 17-0, and you'll be hard pressed, unless you're a hardcore boxing fan, to recognize many of these names on his record. Manzano Smith, I do know of him, but definitely journeyman level. All of these guys on this list are journeyman level. Now, I don't recognize a lot of these names, and I'm pretty heavily into heavyweight boxing, but Damani Rock could be the goods for all we know. I consider this to be quite a large step up in quality. There is some concern with many for Damani Rock about his motivation and dedication to the sport. He quite often comes in fairly heavy. Let's have a look just at a few of his weights here. Look, 278, 289, 275, man, this is too heavy. Was that 264? Did we get to 264? That's probably getting closer, but you'd think you'd want to see him in the high 250s at most. 6'5". I know he's a thick set kind of guy, but quite often got a bit of a belly on him too, so tough to know how good he is, and this could be a bit of a gauge fight. We kind of know what Carlos Negron does have. It seems he doesn't have the greatest of chins. However, he does have some skills. You don't get to the Olympics without having some kind of skills, and you don't beat unbeaten prospects by knocking them out in the first round by being an absolute bum. And even that fight he had against Dominic Brazil, he was tagging up Brazil at times until the volume and the pressure wore him down. Negron was actually doing not too bad, so this fight definitely could be a fairly good gauge fight for Damani Rock. If he pulls it off, then maybe we're going to give him a bit more props and follow him a bit closer, but we shall see. Now, there is one more fight. It's not actually confirmed on BoxRec or anything as yet, but apparently it's going to be on the 26th of September, and here it is. Trevor Bryan, the WBA interim champion, taking on check this out, Christopher Lovejoy, the GBO heavyweight world champion. Now, Trevor Bryan hasn't been in the ring for a very long time, since he beat BJ Flores. That's right, the cruiserweight BJ Flores for the interim WBA heavyweight title. How the hell Don King got that belt on the line for that fight is a freaking mystery to me. Total freaking mystery, man. But that fight was back in August. I think it's looking at the dates, I might have them backwards around. No, yeah, it was in August of 2018. He knocked BJ Flores down like 6 times in that fight, and he hasn't fought since. So let's jump over and have a look at some stats and whatnot. Here we go. This is Trevor Bryan, right? The interim WBA champion, who hasn't fought for almost 2 years and still managed to hang on to an interim title belt without fighting any kind of mandatories. How so? Now he's 20-0, hasn't fought a lot of opposition, but we'll get to that. He's 6'4" with a 79-inch reach. The best footage of Trevor Bryan I've seen is him sparring with Jarrell Miller like 3 or 4 years ago, and they were going at it, and Trevor Bryan was doing pretty good. But yeah, quick look through his record here. Francis Russell, man, Glenn Brown, Derek Rossi, there's a name we recognise, right? He's a bit of a tricky character. He fought Bermain Stavern after Bermain Stavern lost his challenge to Deontay Wilder, lost his defense to Deontay Wilder, and he dropped Bermain Stavern in the first round, but many thought Rossi won that fight, and I was one of those people. But Trevor Bryan managed to get past him with a unanimous decision over 10 rounds. So there's definitely some quality there, but so much inactivity could be a real problem for Trevor Bryan. Stacey Fraser, Tyrell Jamal Woods, bona fide journeyman there, as you can see, 16-9. Man, and that's, is this the guy, Epifano Mendoza? He's the guy who might have been the other one who beat Negron. Yeah, I think it was Epifano Mendoza. He's the guy who stopped Negron early in his career. But yeah, 40-20, so you get an idea from his record. So, you know, there's bugger all on his record here for Trevor Bryan that you'd recognise. But as the WBA interim champion, I would have thought he would have to have faced some kind of mandatory. But it hasn't been the case. So I'll move it over to Christopher Lovejoy. This guy cracks me up. This guy really cracks me up. He's been talking about this and chasing people trying to get fights for so long. He's 18-0, and okay, we'll quick look at the stats first. Like 6'5", no registered reach. He's a big dude, man. He's a big dude. See, look, he's weighing 236, 264, 284. Holy shit. Yeah, he can be really big. Is that top weight? That top weight can't be right. 236. That's like really in shape for him. But most of his fights, actually, I think all of his fights have been in Mexico. Just scroll through here. Yeah, man. All of his fights have been in Mexico. And I'd be struggling to recognize any of the names on this. Oh, man. This dude's fought... Oh, who's this? No. No. See, I don't recognize any of these names, and I believe he's fought one person who had a winning record at the time. Everybody else he's fought has a losing record. I'm just trying to look for this one winning record. Where is it? I haven't actually checked it out to see if it's true, but I read that in an article when I was reading about this fight. There is an article on Boxing News 24 about the fight. I see Christopher Lovejoy has also posted that the deposit from Don King has gone through. The date has been confirmed as the 26th of September, but no venue given yet, just as the Negron and Rock fight hasn't. Oh, there's the winning record, 14-3. That's the one guy he's fought, George Alfredo Leal. That's the one dude he's fought that has a winning record. The rest of them all losing records. But you know, this guy, he's doing everything himself. He's his own manager, he's his own promoter. I believe he's some kind of helicopter engineer or something. That is a real job. But dealing with Don King and not having an experienced manager behind you rings a lot of alarm bells for me. And also, something else that rings alarm bells for me is, how the hell is the WBA interim title on the line for this fight when Christopher Lovejoy does not have a WBA ranking? And I just better double check on that. Actually, I'm going to quickly bring up the rankings and see if he is on the WBA rankings. Just give me one little quick sec here. I'm pretty sure he ain't though. He was at one stage, he was ranked at 14 or something. That must have been after he beat that one guy who had the winning record. I mean, 18-0 sounds impressive, doesn't it? But it doesn't mean shit if everybody you beat drives a taxi, works in a gas station, or picks up rubbish bins for a living. It just doesn't work like that. So, number 15 we have Freza Kendo. Number 14 we have Mladen Miljas. Oh man, I know the dude, I just can't say his name. 13 is Sergey Kuzmin. 12 Efra Jugba. 11 Ajit Kabiel. 10 Kubrat Pulev. 9 Derek Chisora. 8 Michael Hunter. 7 Chris Arreola. What the fuck is he doing in there? Chris Arreola at number 7. Okay. Charles Martin at number 6. Adam Kalnacki number 5. Andy Ruiz number 4. Luis Ortiz number 3. Alexander Usyk number 2. Trevor Bryan number 1 because he's the interim champion. And we have Robert Helenius, who is the WBA gold champion. Manuel Charr, who is the regular champion. And of course, Anthony Joshua, who is the super champion. So, Christopher Lovejoy is not in the WBA rankings. Now, I hope this isn't something he's forgotten about. And I'm also wondering, one other reason why it may not be confirmed quite yet is because maybe the WBA aren't going to sanction the bout as a title fight because Christopher Lovejoy does not have a ranking. So be careful, Christopher. This is a experienced manager's role And if you're trying to do that along with training, along with promoting, trying to get the fights that you want to get, don't forget these little details. There's a lot to remember, man. So don't get shafted. And, you know, it's Don King. He's the king of shafting. So be careful. Alright, so this is another fight as well where we don't know what Christopher Lovejoy's got because he hasn't fought anybody with a pulse. But at the same token, Trevor Bryan has fought Derek Rossi. He's got a pulse, but the rest of them on his record don't either. I mean, BJ Flores going down 6 times before the ref stops the fight, and he's a cruiserweight. I mean, Don King's worked his magic to get Trevor Bryan to where he is and still hang on to the belt without having to fight for 2 years. So that's what a experienced manager and promoter can do for you, Christopher Lovejoy. Be careful. So I'm not going to predict the winner, but I think Trevor Bryan's probably going to outbox Christopher Lovejoy. That's just my gut feeling pretty much, because I haven't even really seen much of Christopher Lovejoy, particularly against any kind of real opponent. At least I've seen Trevor Bryan mixing it up and doing quite well against Jarrell Miller in sparring. The Negron versus Rock fight, that's a hard one too, because I haven't seen much of Rock. But the way things are going with Carlos Negron, I'm thinking maybe he might be able to pull this one out. Maybe he may be able to pull it out. But then once again, if Damani Rock hits as hard as many say he does, and he can land clean on that chin that ain't so great of Carlos Negron, could be all over with one shot. One shot. Let's just hope Damani Rock comes into the ring in good shape. And finally, Tony Yoka versus Johann Dorpo. I'm definitely picking Yoka. Most people are thinking a decision. I'm just about inclined to say maybe around 8 or 9 stoppage from Yoka. I think he's going to wear down Dorpo. Dorpo's getting longer in the tooth. He's been in some wars. So maybe the damage he's taken over the years is going to take its toll, and Tony Yoka can take him out. So I hope you've enjoyed the video. That's it from me today. And man, I'll catch you next time. It's Big Boys Boxing, and I'm out. See you. So that's it for today. Appreciate y'all coming and checking out the Big Boys Boxing content. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Also, if you want to get more involved, you can go to the Big Boys Boxing channel page, and over here on the top right, there's this Discord icon here. If you click on that, it will take you to the Big Boys Boxing Discord server. This is it here, and these are the text channels here. The info is all about the channel and how to get involved. General chat, we all just talk about boxing, any subject, everybody's welcome. Live fight links, I drop links here that will take you to live fight events. I generally drop the link here 24 hours before the fight, so if you don't have a broadcast, you can come here and find a way to watch it. Also, fights that I do record, I will be posting here. I've got a couple here already, as you can see. And down here, the voice channels, live panel. If you'd like to get involved with the live YouTube streams, the panel is on here. Once you get here, you just click on live panel, and as you can see, you're in. If you'd like to mute at any point, there's a little mic icon here. Click on that and you are muted. And if you'd like to leave the call, this is your hang up button. Simple as. And down here, this is anytime chat. It's another voice channel. You can get on here and talk with anybody who's in there about whatever you want to talk about. It's free for all. So get involved. I'm Jono from Big Boys Boxing, and I will catch you next time. See you!